Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I'm going to review Lovely Tinkerbell from the Peter Pan series. I also have other videos that cover Lovely Stitch and Angel as well as Lovely Carice, so if you haven't seen that yet, check those videos out in my channel. For this video, I will focus on Lovely Tinkerbell, and the drop rates for Lovely Tinkerbell is going to be 37.5 for me. Now your numbers might be a little bit different depending on which Tsums you've already maxed out. So if you have all the other Tsums maxed out, besides the new Tsums from this month, then your number is also going to be 37.5. And also, this gameplay that you're currently watching right now is going to be a skill level 1 game demonstration. I will have the other skill levels as well, so if you're looking for skill level 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's going to be in this video as well. And before I go any further, if you guys enjoy this type of content where I review Tsums, do monthly leaks, do selection box reviews as well as premium box reviews, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Your subscription really helps me out a lot. And also, I have a line group, and if you need additional friends for your game, or need additional hearts, or just need someone to send you some coins, then please consider joining this line group and I'll add you as a friend. There are other players in there as well, so if you want to add more players who also plays this game, feel free to go through the members list and add some friends. I also have a Discord server as well, so if you want to join me on Discord, feel free to scan this QR code to join Discord. Alright, so back to Lovely Tinkerbell. The ability description for Lovely Tinkerbell is special magical bubbles appear when you tap. So for the ability Lovely Tinkerbell, you will need to tap during the ability, but I'll get into the ability a little bit later. Let's take a look at her stats first. So in order for you to activate her ability, you're going to need to clear anywhere between 14 to 20 copies of Lovely Tinkerbell off the screen. So depending on what skill level you have her at, this number will vary. Her minimum score is 160 with a maximum score of 993. So Lovely Tinkerbell is not going to be a Tsum that you would use for score. It has a pretty high minimum score, but you really gotta look at the maximum score, because ideally you want to max out a Tsum to get a high score, and 993 just isn't that amazing. And if you would like to max out Lovely Tinkerbell, you would need to get a total of 32 copies of her from the premium box or using skill tickets. So it's really not worth it to max out Lovely Tinkerbell to skill level 6. It's not going to be one of those Tsums where it's going to earn you a lot of coins, and really not that amazing for missions. It is viable though. Her ability is really to just make big bubbles or just use magical bubbles in general. I don't know if her bubbles is going to count as big bubbles, but I'll test it out once I have the missions. So let's take a look at the difference here between skill level 1, 2, and 3. For her ability, there is two differences here, or there's two components, not differences. So first is how many Tsums that's going to require to activate her ability. So if you have her at skill level 1, you're going to need 20. Skill level 2 and 3, you only need 18, so a decrease of 2. And going from skill level 1 to skill level 2, the amount of big bubbles, or amount of taps that is there, is going to be consistent at 2. And at skill level 3, you're going to get an additional tap, which is 3. So these taps is in reference to when you activate her ability, you will need to tap the screen to essentially activate the bubbles. Now, where you place these bubbles, there is some strategy to it. You wouldn't necessarily just randomly tap or even tap in the same spot. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to tap the bubbles or make the bubbles in areas that have a lot of Tsums. And secondly, you want to spread them out. You don't want them touching each other or be too close to one another, because what happens if they're too close to one another is that you won't be able to burst surrounding Tsums. The bubbles are going to get in the way. So try to spread them out if you can. And another thing you want to do is before Lovely Tinkerbell is fully charged, you want to start hitting the skill button, because what happens when you have an overcharge is those additional Tsums will go into the next ability. So if you see here for skill level 2 and skill level 3, my charger bar is already slightly full before I even burst any Tsums there. So you always want to be just spamming the ability button before it's fully charged. And another thing to note here is you don't have to rush to make these bubbles. During the ability time, the clock actually stops, so the countdown of the timer is completely stopped. So you don't have to rush to make these bubbles. Really take your time to figure out where you want to place them, and then optimize the position of these taps. So let's take a look at the abilities activated at the same time. Now this is in full speed. I will slow this down so I can show you what's actually happening. So for skill level 1 and skill level 2, we're going to get a total of 2 taps, which will make 2 big bubbles. and skill level 3 there's going to be 3 bubbles. Now this is where I would recommend you to make your taps. For skill level 1 and skill level 2, you want to just do a diagonal. It doesn't matter if it's like if you have the lower one on the left side or on the right side, but ultimately you want to spread them out. For skill level 1 and 2, it's not too difficult. Just put them in 2 opposite directions or in 2 different corners, or you can put them both at the very top. It doesn't really matter. Just don't put them right next to each other. And for skill level 3, I would recommend you to make a triangle. This triangle will allow you to optimize your burst. I would recommend to have the single point at the top because generally speaking, that is where it doesn't have all of the zooms. If it doesn't have zooms, give it a second or two to make sure that there's enough zooms that fall down before you burst them. So don't necessarily need to rush them to burst the zooms right away or burst the bubbles. You can wait before you burst them. Moving on to skill level 4, 5, and 6. Now, skill level 4, 5, and 6 is a little bit more interesting because you get more taps. Skill level 3 and 4 is the same where you get 3 taps, but for skill level 5 and 6, you're going to get additional tap there. So you're going to get a total of 4 magical bubbles, but you will be able to activate the abilities more often because skill level 5 requires 16 zooms to activate the ability, whereas skill level 6, you need only 14. But honestly, the 2 needed, that it's not going to make a huge difference. You're not even going to notice it too much because you are spamming the ability button to activate the ability. Especially if you're not doing that, you're not going to get the overcharge, therefore you're not going to be able to activate more abilities per game. So generally speaking, when you have these type of abilities or these perks per zoom where you need to clear less zooms to activate the ability, it doesn't help out too much. But in any case, because there is an extra tap, that will be helpful. The -2 zooms isn't necessarily going to be that great. So for skill level 4, 5, and 6, there is an improvement because you get that extra bubble. And I noticed that there are different colors, and I try to see if it makes a difference or not, and it really doesn't. The bubbles are just really for theme purposes. They essentially make the same amount of burst regardless of what color they are. So it doesn't matter what color it is. So if you think that maybe the red one makes more, it doesn't. They're all the same. But there is one cool thing about this zoom though, is when you play this zoom, you'll notice that the background is all green. So that's one special thing about Lovely Tinkerbell, is that the play area has this special wallpaper, and it's not just going to be for this month, it's going to be going on forever. So as long as you have Lovely Tinkerbell, you will get this special wallpaper every single time you use her. Okay, so let's take a look at the abilities activated at the same time. So this is going to be in full speed, and these are exactly the positions where you want to put them. So let me slow this down so you can see what's actually happening and how they fall down. So you see skill level 4, I had a magic bubble there and it kind of got in the way, but it's not a huge deal. But these essentially are the positions you want to put them. And if you look at skill level 5, you could actually put them even though there is a gap there. So it doesn't matter if there's a gap there or not, you can still place the magic bubble there. Essentially what will happen is that that bubble that's going to be there is going to fill the void. So for skill level 5 and 6, I had a gap there on the bottom left hand corner. So you don't necessarily need to wait until the screen is full of zooms before activating the ability, because what ends up happening is that the zooms will fall down and they will fill the gap. And then you just want to give it a second or two to make sure that all the zooms settled before you burst the bubble. And as long as the bubble is touching surrounding zooms or there's zooms touching that bubble, you could burst it right away. So you don't necessarily need to always wait for the zooms to settle and then burst that particular bubble. Just always make sure there's zooms touching the bubble. Now overall, Lovely Tinkerbell is not going to be a zoom I would recommend you to get. Lovely Tinkerbell, the only time you probably use her is for bubble missions, but there are other zooms out there that you could use for bubble missions, so you don't need to waste your skill tickets or coins to get Lovely Tinkerbell. I can't see Lovely Tinkerbell being a coin earner or being amazing for missions, but if you are a beginner and don't have a bubble maker, then Lovely Tinkerbell is a good option for that, but honestly, really not worth investing in. And let me show you the results for these 6 gameplays that I had. So for skill level 1 and 2, the score wise is pretty close. You see there I got 3.2 for skill level 1, and skill level 2 I got 3.6. And like I mentioned earlier, because the bubble or the taps are the same, you'll notice that for skill level 1 and 2 they're going to be very close, and then skill level 3 and 4 are also going to be close, and then 5 and 6 is also going to be close. So really, Lovely Tinkerbell is not worth getting even at skill level 6 because it requires a lot of investment. So for lovely Tinkerbell, I would recommend you to skip on investing in her. So that's my review for lovely Tinkerbell. If you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining, please consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.